So I know I'm not alone when I say for anybody that's in the client service industry that sometimes relationships may get rocky, whether it's between the communication or the actual process that you have going on with your client. In this video, we're going to talk about what makes a relationship go sour and 3 tips on how to make the relationship between you and the client the best it can be before you deliver that final product. Hey, hi, hello, I go by the name Mo Isma. How is everybody doing? Thank you for tuning in to our channel. I am a content creator as well as the director of operations at Mox. We're a creative agency that focuses on brand strategy development, media production, and design for businesses. We help business unlock their truth creatively. In this video, we're talking about the client relationship between you and your client when you're creating something for them. So the first thing we want to talk about is mindset before we get into the practical. There's something known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, what is that? That's when your expectations and your beliefs about the outcome of something become reality. So if you have negative expectations about something, it'll become negative. If you have positive expectations about something, it'll become positive. So what does this translate in the client relationship? If you're unorganized with the client, if you're unorganized in your process, then that means that the outcome is also going to be unorganized. We're not alone. Over at Mox, we had in the past a relationship that we didn't like the way it went through, and when we reflected on it, we realized that we didn't have a clear process. We weren't making sure that the client was in full understanding of how we reached the final product. And in turn, while we were creating the product, we started kind of resenting the client, not really wanting to do the work and feeling drained just from having to do little tasks. So how do we avoid getting to that? The first thing is, once you implement a process in place, if we go back to the self-fulfilling prophecy, that means the end result is going to feel more structured, it's going to feel more organized, and everybody in the relationship is going to feel stable, and it's not going to feel rocky. Now, what are some tips that you can implement in your process to make sure that the relationship is steady? The first thing is stop being a pencil pusher. Now, what does that mean? You are not here to just draw a logo. You are not here to just hold a camera and shoot. You are here to solve a problem. So whatever creative thing you are creating, you have to connect it with a bigger pain point with the client and a bigger goal. Once you're able to identify that business goal for the client or that personal goal, if you're in the wedding industry, you're in the photography industry for prom or graduation, they feel like you are resolving something more than just pushing the pencil to the paper. I hope that makes sense. The second thing is segment out the entirety of the project. Now, in the past, we used to be like, what is it that you want? We'll create it, and then we just send them the final product, and they have no idea how we got there. They weren't a part of it. So you have to segment out the project so there's an element of collaboration and there's a feeling of safe space. So instead of just saying, okay, so you want a logo? Let me just go ahead and drop the logo. A month later, you send them the logo and they're like, okay, great. And then you hear all of this feedback that you could have heard previously. So what we like to do is we would like to include 2 rounds of revisions on anything that we create. So the first initial concept is about maybe 60% done. And that's when the client has ample time to really talk about it. Hey client, are we on target? Did we capture the essence of what we were trying to make correctly? And they give us the feedback, and you gotta listen really carefully here, because this is the time where you're gonna take that feedback and revise extensively. Then after that, you have the first round of revision where you take that feedback, implement it, and give them that with the feedback done. And they say, oh, we're definitely on track. And that one's about 90% done. And then the last round of revision, you're there. And that way they feel like they're actually a part of the process and they're not just being given this last round out of thin air. And they feel like you've created a space where they're heard and they feel like their words and their feedback is meaningful. And the last thing, don't fall victim to just asking, here it is, do you like it? You have to structure a very strong way of clarity for feedback. Now, what does that mean? When you send them something for revision or when you send them something for feedback, make sure your questions are calculated. Don't put all the work on the client. You can't just say, hey, do you like this? And then expect them to give you this subjective answer that has no meaning to the overall project. It's just how they feel. So ask them something like, is this iteration on target? Is what we're doing attached to the pain point that you want to resolve? Is this capturing what it is we want to communicate to our target audience? These are all questions that make them think a little bit more critically and give you answers that you can translate into practical creative execution versus, hey man, do you like it? That's shifting the burden entirely on them, and that's not fair. So just to recap, the first thing we need to change is the mindset, because there's a self-fulfilling prophecy involved. If you're not organized, the end result will be unorganized, and that's how it will turn out. And 3 practical tactics that you can implement. The first, connect the creative to a bigger pain point and a bigger goal. You are no longer a pencil pusher. You are no longer a record button pusher. You are no longer a mouse pusher, okay? Just remember that. The second thing, segment out the project into phases to include the client in a collaborative effort reaching the end result. And the last thing, ask critical feedback-oriented questions that aren't subjective for the client so they can give you feedback that's helpful for you to execute properly on. Okay, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like it, please make sure to like it. If Chris was with me, he would say double tap that dislike button. Okay, and please leave us comments below if this is something you want us to delve deeper on, whether it's project management, actual execution of the creative, whether that be design, media, or brand identity development. We'd love to help you guys out on that. What was your favorite part down here? Say that in the comments, and we will see y'all in the next one. All right, peace.